The sound of a gentle song echoed through the glass hallways of the towering office building just as the morning sunlight poured through the massive windows. Employees rushing toward elevators slowed their footsteps without realizing it. For a few precious moments, the stress of deadlines, meetings, and endless phone calls disappeared beneath the warmth of one ordinary man's voice. No one noticed that those few peaceful minutes were about to destroy his livelihood, and unknowingly reveal a truth that would change several lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance and that compassion can change lives, please like this video, share it with your friends, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories like this every week. Every weekday morning, long before executives arrived in tailored suits carrying expensive coffee cups, 40-year-old Gideon Hale unlocked the maintenance closet on the ground floor of the prestigious Sterling Heights Corporate Center. The enormous building reflected the bright daytime sky like polished crystal, but Gideon rarely had time to admire it. His work began before sunrise and continued until every hallway gleamed, every office smelled fresh, and every piece of marble flooring shined so brightly that employees could almost see their reflections. To most people, Gideon was simply the janitor. Few knew that he was also a devoted single father raising his 8-year-old son, Noah, after losing his wife to a sudden illness 5 years earlier. Since that painful day, every decision Gideon made revolved around giving Noah a stable, loving life despite their constant financial struggles. Their tiny apartment was modest, their furniture old, and their meals simple, yet laughter somehow found a place around their small kitchen table every evening. Singing had become part of Gideon's survival. His late wife had loved music, and after her passing, songs became the invisible thread connecting happier memories to difficult days. As he polished floors or emptied trash bins, he quietly sang the same comforting melodies she once hummed while cooking breakfast. Those songs soothed his own aching heart just as much as they reminded him that hope still existed. Many employees secretly appreciated those melodies. Some deliberately arrived a little earlier to hear Gideon's warm voice drift through the lobby. Others claimed his singing somehow made stressful mornings easier. Even security guards smiled whenever they heard familiar tunes floating through the corridors. Unfortunately, not everyone shared that opinion. The company's newly appointed CEO, Vivian Ashcroft, believed discipline and professionalism were the only ingredients for success. At 38, she had built a reputation for demanding perfection from everyone around her. She believed emotions belonged at home, not inside a billion-dollar corporation. Vivian had inherited leadership after her father's retirement, and ever since then, every newspaper described her as brilliant, fearless, and uncompromising. Employees admired her intelligence but feared her presence. Entire departments grew silent whenever she stepped onto a floor. That Monday morning, Vivian entered the building earlier than usual after another sleepless night. Her tailored navy suit matched the sharp confidence she projected, yet behind her composed expression lay months of exhaustion. Her greatest struggle had nothing to do with business. Her 10-year-old daughter, Ilara, had autism. Although Vivian loved her daughter deeply, balancing motherhood and corporate leadership felt impossible. Ilara experienced severe sensory challenges and overwhelming anxiety. Most painfully, she had developed chronic insomnia. Weeks passed without a full night's sleep. Specialists, therapists, medications, and expensive sleep programs had failed. Vivian herself had begun surviving on barely 3 hours of rest each night. As she crossed the marble lobby, Gideon's gentle singing reached her ears. Instead of hearing comfort, she heard distraction. She immediately walked toward the sound. Vivian viewed the scene through the cold lens of corporate rules. She believed the building represented discipline, not personal performances. She saw an employee ignoring what she considered professional conduct during working hours. Without asking why he sang or understanding the quiet joy he brought to countless mornings, she made an instant decision. By lunchtime, Gideon had lost his job. No warning. No second chance. No opportunity to explain. The security badge hanging around his neck no longer opened the employee entrance. As he packed his few belongings into a worn cardboard box, several co-workers lowered their heads, unable to hide their disappointment. They wanted to protest but feared risking their own jobs. The hardest part wasn't losing the paycheck. It was wondering how he would explain everything to Noah. That evening, Gideon smiled through dinner despite the fear weighing on his heart. Noah excitedly talked about school, science class, and a paper airplane competition. Gideon nodded, laughed when appropriate, and silently promised himself that somehow, no matter what happened, his son would never carry the burden of adult worries. After Noah fell asleep, Gideon sat beside the apartment window staring across the city skyline glowing beneath the setting sun. Bills covered the small table beside him. Rent was due within days. Still, he quietly sang. Not because he was happy. Because singing reminded him that despair didn't deserve the final word. Across town, inside a luxurious penthouse overlooking the same skyline, Vivian faced a very different battle. Elara had been awake for nearly 48 hours. Every sound overwhelmed her. Every attempt to help increased her anxiety. Professional caregivers rotated through the house, each leaving with worried expressions. Vivian held her exhausted daughter, feeling completely powerless. For the first time in years, billion-dollar contracts and corporate victories meant absolutely nothing. A mother would have traded every success she owned for one peaceful night's sleep for her child. Days later, the company organized a community outreach event supporting a children's development center. Executives attended for publicity while local families participated in therapy activities. Vivian reluctantly brought Elara, hoping the change of environment might help. Coincidentally, Gideon had volunteered there after losing his job. Although unpaid, he wanted to stay useful while searching for work. He cleaned classrooms, repaired broken shelves, and occasionally sang softly while organizing donated toys. When Elara entered the building, she remained tense as usual. Then something extraordinary happened. The same voice Vivian had fired only days earlier. Elara stopped moving. Her breathing slowed. The constant panic in her eyes softened. Without speaking, she quietly walked toward the sound as though following a forgotten memory hidden somewhere deep inside her heart. Volunteers watched in amazement. Therapists exchanged confused glances. Vivian could barely believe what she was seeing. Her daughter, who usually recoiled from unfamiliar people, calmly sat several feet away from Gideon as he continued organizing books while softly singing. Minutes passed. For the first time in months, Elara peacefully closed her eyes. She fell asleep. Not because of medication. Not because of expensive treatment. But because one gentle voice made her feel safe enough to rest. Vivian stood frozen. The realization struck harder than any business failure she had ever experienced. The man she had dismissed as an unprofessional janitor possessed something no amount of wealth could purchase. Human kindness. Not status. Gentleness. Not perfection. Tears gathered in Vivian's eyes as guilt slowly replaced pride. She remembered the expression on Gideon's face when security escorted him from the building. She had never asked about his life. Never wondered why he sang. Never imagined those melodies carried healing instead of distraction. In that quiet therapy center, surrounded by children's drawings and afternoon sunlight pouring through colorful windows, Vivian finally understood that leadership without compassion leaves people invisible. Over the following weeks, she reached out to Gideon with sincere humility. She offered not only his job back but a completely new role coordinating employee wellness and community outreach, recognizing that his gift extended far beyond cleaning hallways. Gideon accepted, not because he had forgotten the pain, but because forgiveness gave his son a brighter future than resentment ever could. Elara continued improving. She still faced challenges, but Gideon's calming songs became part of her therapy routine, helping her find comfort on difficult days. Noah gained an unexpected friend in Alara, and together the children discovered that kindness often speaks louder than words. Vivian transformed her company culture. Employees were encouraged to bring humanity into the workplace, and the building once known for fear slowly became known for compassion. Productivity rose, but more importantly, so did hope. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, leave a meaningful comment below, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps these inspiring stories reach people who need hope today. Special request, comment below, what act of kindness has changed your life forever? We'd truly love to read your story. As the morning sun once again filled the glass hallways months later, the same gentle songs floated through the building, not as a reason for punishment, but as a daily reminder that the strongest leaders are not those who silence kindness, but those who learn to listen to it. Sometimes the greatest miracle isn't found in power, wealth, or authority. Sometimes, it lives quietly inside the voice of an ordinary father who refused to stop singing, even when the world gave him every reason to be silent.